future of the game, and this is bigger, way bigger than football. Trust me. Whether this is power politics and the soul of the African game colliding. He's the head of CAF TV, commercial and director of communications. Lux September, good to see you, sir. Welcome to the studio.
Marava, I didn't think I'll come to your studio so soon, man. I mean, I don't come to this show for 5 years, and the next thing I'm here back to back in the space of a month or so. Good to be here, Robert, and thank you so much, man.
It's a decision that's shaken the world. I don't want to limit it to the continent because it's a global story. CNN, BBC, Sky, Al Jazeera, you name it. Online, social media. Here we are today. 48 hours later? How does Lux respond in summary to what has gone on here?
Robert, I mean, you've got to look at it holistically. I mean, 3 weeks ago, there was the meeting of the CAF disciplinary committee, which is the board. And they took a particular decision, as you can imagine, as you remember that decision and an outcome, which was published, which basically apportioned the blame in not so many ways to both parties and kind of issued very, I mean, millions of rands worth of fines on both sides, so to speak. Senegal elected not to. So this is one decision. Park it there. The disciplinary committee had a decision, and then Morocco opted to appeal the decision, which is within their rights to do this. You know, maybe what is also important is to also explain a very simple factor that there is the disciplinary committee at CAF, there is the appeals board at CAF, and both these bodies, the people who sit there don't work at CAF. They are lawyers. I mean, the person who's the chairperson of the appeals board is a high court judge from Nigeria. And there's many people who are lawyers and so on. And everyone there has got a legal background, both from the disciplinary committee and the appeals board. The administration at CAF has nothing to do with this. The president of CAF, Dr. Motsepe, has nothing to do with this. So the DC comes up with a decision 3 weeks ago. Of course, it's appealed by Morocco. It goes through the process. It's normal. You must appeal if you feel like you must appeal. The appeals board publishes the decision. I mean, I've read in the social media a lot of people, by the way, saying, Dr. Motsepe should, is the leader. I guess when you're a leader, you're in a very unfair position, right? Because you get blamed for things you know or don't know. I actually think the first time he saw the decision was the first time when I saw it myself.
So you're saying that when the world got to hear about the decision was the first time the president of CAF got to know about it as
100%, well? I actually it's a matter of fact because I was talking to him around that period.
But is that normal though? Is that normal?
I think it's how, if you know the man, if you know him, he is like this. He insists on good governance, Dr. Motsepe. He insists on corporate governance. He insists on integrity. And someone said to me, no, in football we've never had this whereby, I mean, the president is supposed to be involved. And I can tell you the first time he heard of the decision was probably the first time when I heard of the decision myself. I mean, this is before it became public, of course. Because he creates this wall. He says the appeals board sits, I don't want to talk to you. You must take the decision. And then afterwards, of course, Senegal or Morocco have an opportunity to appeal the decision to CAS. If anyone else who's ever worked with Dr. Motsepe knows that there is the sacrosanct rule. Maybe it was not like that in football before because there's always suspicion that this president spoke to, I'm telling you, I'm sure the president of the disciplinary committee, cannot say I spoke to the CAF president. The president of the appeals committee never speak to the president of CAF. And the first time he heard of the decision was the first time when we also heard of the decision, Robert. Now, obviously, I actually, just before I came here on air, the President Motsepe had a very good call with the President of Senegal. This is breaking news, by the way, because it just happened. Okay. And I don't want to because there's still an issue of statements that need to be issued there. But the spirit of it is even the people who might not be happy about a particular decision, the sentiments they are putting across is, but we know you, we trust you, And this was the tone of the call. And I don't want to go into details about this at the moment, of course, because as I say, there's going to be a couple of statements that are exchanged.
Well, I know that there was going to be a presser from Senegal that was due to happen.
Yes.
So you're saying that Senegal are saying to the president of CAF that we are unhappy, but we are happy that you are at the center of this, and we're happy because you are the man that we trust.
This was the sentiment of the call, Robert. And
Yeah.
as I said, I mean, independently, they can verify themselves, and they will, I'm sure, in the next few. As I said, I don't want to speak in detail about it because it still has to go through all these protocols that are. But this is for me, out of all the noise, this is what gives me comfort, is that people, even those who are aggrieved, say, but we trust you. We might not like the decision. You know, a lot of people don't like the decision, I think. But they know, and he insists to them that, listen, I've got two bodies that have made two different decisions. As a president of CAF, I cannot have an emotion. I didn't comment when the DC made a decision, said I like or don't like the decision. I cannot have an opinion when the appeals board has a decision, whether I like it or not. And he was briefed, that Senegal will go to CARES, and I think he will speak for himself very soon, I think. He encourages all the people to exhaust the necessary structures that are there.
So he's not against Senegal going to CAS.
I think it actually is in his interest that there are processes involved, and everyone must exhaust these processes. The good thing is that the people have got confidence in the processes. You might have issues about a couple of things. There might be a lot of perception. African football, Robert, carries a very heavy stigma of decades of a trust deficit.
Yeah, trust deficit, corruption, all of the
100%.
above. So what I'm saying though, Lux, what I'm trying to say here is that this decision,
Yes.
from a footballing perspective, is a decision that's unprecedented. This is a decision where a trophy, and you as the president of CAF have been on the ground to hand out those medals. The referee's decision has been taken. The referee's decision is final. You've endorsed it. You have said, guys, here's your trophy, here's your medals. Well done, congratulations. The nation of Senegal have celebrated. Ticker tape parades have happened. They've gone back to the individual clubs in Europe. They've been made heroes as they got back. You know, the players form like a guard of honor. They come back as heroes. That is football as we know it, won on the field of play. So for a tournament like AFCON that has been struggling with its image, that has been paneled and, you know, all sorts of things have been said, have been coming right. Now we go back to square one.
Yeah.
And for me, like I was saying with the minister yesterday, that it's falling into his realm as the leader, as the president of CAF. All of this is happening within his time.
Correct.
And obviously the memories would be at the time that this decision was taken, who was heading up CAF. And that for me is the problem.
No, I mean, I fully take your point, Robert, that he is the president of CAF, and as the leader of the organization, I think he understands this. Now, I asked an interesting question to an acquaintance of mine earlier today, who's a very high-ranking official. I said, what would you prefer? Do you think the president of CAF should be calling the chairman of the appeal committee and say, but you can't issue that decision. Let it not go right, let it go left. I think any leader must discipline his feelings about a particular thing. If you commit yourself, like Dr. Motsepe has, to good governance, if you commit yourself like he has to integrity, to the separation, I think anyone else who has committed themselves to this, if you have not committed yourself to this, I'm sure you can act in another way. But I think if you have committed yourself and you've lived your entire life with integrity and all, you cannot then meddle.
But what if you've entrusted that trust
Yes.
to people who do not understand how the governance and the laws and the rules
That's a
of the
separate
game?
matter.
No, I understand.
Because you must also understand, Robert,
because
how
they have not read, let's say, 82, 83, and what 84 then subsequently has in store, because those are the bases of which they apply. But anybody, even during their first year of law, would understand that they interpreted it incorrectly.
Well, I mean, Robert, also you must understand how the appeal body is appointed by the 54 member associations, by the Congress. It's not appointed by the CAF president. It's not him who appoints who should be part of the appeal body. And it consists of people from different parts of the continent. Now, should the CAF president be interfering in judicial processes of CAF? I think the answer is a no. You don't need to be a lawyer to do this. Now, in a situation like this, I think it's very, very important, Robert, and I know the emotions are very high. They should be, because football is an emotional game, right? I sit here, I might have an opinion, he might have his own opinion, the president, but if you have a position of power, you must discipline your emotions. Discipline them to a point whereby you commit yourself to following the process. There's still another process at CAS, Court of Arbitration of Sport.
As Raymond had told us, that could be in 6 months. So again, it's a delay.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I agree with Raymond on that point, because there have been many cases. I mean, he sat at CAS, he knows this, and I sit at CAF, and there's a lot of referral of cases. There are matters that are heard on urgent basis. There are matters that are not heard on urgent basis.
So you were saying that it's not urgent because the game was concluded.
I don't know about the merits there. I think there should be.
It would have been urgent if the game was not concluded and they want to now find a conclusion to the game. They say that an urgent one, they would say, oh, this game was concluded, so fine. Let's wait and take our time and let the processes go. I need to take a quick break. When I come back, Lux September is here in studio chatting to us. I see lots of voice notes coming through. Be part of the conversation. It's an important conversation.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW.
Get Spa super savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Like 2-liter Spa full cream or low-fat ultra-pasteurized fresh milk, $29.99 each. Save R7 with Spa rewards. Or 750ml Sunlight dishwashing liquid refill for $24.99. Save R5 with Spa rewards. Now that's super savings. Price is valid from 9 till 22 March while stocks last. Only at Spa. T's and C's apply.
The Audi Open House Sales event is here and you're invited. Come test drive a wide range of Audi models. Take advantage of exclusive offers and stand a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Formula One, courtesy of Audi. The Audi Open House Sales event is now on until 30th of April at Audi dealerships nationwide. Book your test drive today at audi.co.za. Terms and conditions apply.
Ever had that moment in the teeth? That familiar little jolt when your favorite ice-cold drink...
Good evening, Rob, and good evening to Pralux. Quick one on my side. During the final, both teams were seen speaking to the referee and agreeing to resume the game. Were there any protests lodged by Morocco at the time, and what would have been the grounds for an appeal if there was no protest after that incident where the game was halted? Just want to get your perspective on that. Thank you so much.
Evening, Rob. Evening to the MSW shareholders. It's just that I couldn't believe what I read from Kev. So I've been trying to apply my mind over the past days. It still doesn't make sense. What did we do to deserve to be made such laughing stocks? Because I don't understand. How is our tournament ever going to be respected when you do such unprecedented things? Because I don't understand. Yes, you will try and apply logic and say that they're walking off and what, but the referee continued the game. And as the game continued, Morocco was part of the game. When they were playing, it's not like maybe when the game continued, Morocco sat on the stands and said that, no, we're not continuing with this game. They played the game and they lost. At the penalties, they lost. So I don't understand what's the issue.
Yeah, not understanding what is the issue. All right, as I said, this is an open conversation. We're also going to be linking up with Osasu in just a moment. Lux September, eh?
My good friend.
Your good friend, Lux, eh? Hey, your good friend Osasu.
I have nothing personal against him. I mean, Othaso has spent so many years in African football, and one thing about me, I have so much time for people who've dedicated their times to do the growth and development of African football. And I come from a country whereby I was raised in the Eastern Cape, come from South Africa, whereby we are raised that we can disagree with people without having this. One person once said, hey, you don't like so-and-so. I said, man, I don't have those emotions on anyone. I don't have, because professional disagreement, I mean, I've known you for many years professionally.
Yes.
There are times I don't agree with you, but we still continue working. We still have a good personal relationship, but we know at that time we don't agree. And we never personalize that. And, I once had someone say, no, you don't like Osasu. I said, listen, stop this. I disagree with him, and he disagrees with me sometimes. And I don't think he doesn't like me, I hope. So, I've got no issues with that.
Well, we'll hear. One thing I know is that I do owe him a right of response from the last show that we did.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because something was said about him. And I always say that right of response is due to anybody who feels the need to. So today is that day, and we will certainly get there. A couple of the voice notes, though, let me deal with that. Saying that, are you happy with the outcome? Were there any protest by Morocco at the time of the walk-off? So just some of those legalities. Yeah. Can you plug that gap?
Robert, it's important that we must give space to the legal process that is happening right now. And all of us, Robert, before I'm a football official, I'm a crazy football fan. So I have strong views as a fan, but I have a lot of discipline in the work that I do. And I think the president of I know the president of has a lot of discipline in relation to the application. So when someone today can ask me, does Dr. Motsepe like or don't like the decision? I don't think that is a correct question. Is he committed to a fair, ethical process? Is he committed to treating by the way, here's a person. Sometimes people, I think I raised, it was trending, Robert. I saw people with this thing of what does he need? When people say he might be in the pockets of Morocco or whatever it is, it's a very insulting thing, because I always ask them, what do you think that President Motsepe need from anyone? And I don't know if there are pockets of anyone. Tell me, what is it that he probably needs from, and I'm not saying this about Morocco, I'm just talking in general. So I think it's very...
You're talking about in terms of financially?
Financially, but also, Robert, here's a man, Dr. Motsepe, I've been privileged enough to be around the continent with him, to meet a lot of heads of states. Most of them call him by his first name.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really need anyone to hold his hand to introduce him to the highest authorities. I'm talking about heads of states in the African continent. Call him by his first name.
And if he had to, and this is an if, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you might not have an answer to it. If he does go the political route and wants to become a president and he needs serious backing, he might need somebody, because every politician everywhere around the world does need, because it's an expensive thing to campaign. Do you not then think that will be an off-ramp of some sort?
I think he's answered this question many times. I don't have to repeat his words. I mean, this question that you are, down this passage that you are taking me, he's answered it many times.
Yeah.
I do know that at the moment he's focusing on the president of And I don't think, again, maybe it's because I work with the president quite often, that I would know the kind of person and the commitment he has to fairness, to good governance. He's not a saint. I'm sure he makes many mistakes, but I don't think in any way, as a trained lawyer, he will ever muddy himself and get himself in those things. More importantly, I don't think he will ever sell his name to anybody else. So this thing of people saying, I know it's passage talk, and I'm sure it's a little bit irritating when they say, someone is but to that you must find motive. Okay, maybe like September needs money to build home for his in the Transkei. No, he doesn't need that. He does need someone to take him somewhere. He doesn't need that. So I think right now I will discipline myself and come back to this point. African football has, for the first time, a man whom we cannot question his integrity.
Right.
I think even now, I'm sure, football, Robert, football people talk a lot. If Dr. Motsepe had tried in any way to get involved in any of this decision, it would be scandalous today if a president of interfered with the judicial processes of I think we have to have always perspective. There is one side of emotions of football, and we understand, Robert, everyone invests emotionally in football. When people, a lot of my own family sometimes say, why are you crazy? They love football.
I love the fact. So a couple of things, though, because you did say you can't be long. You got another appointment to go to. Let me take Miguel in Centurion. Miguel, good evening.
Robert, good evening to you, to the listeners, and Mr. Lux September.
Yeah, welcome.
Well, thank you. So I just have some concerns that I want to put forward. When such a big decision is made, and perhaps I missed it right in the beginning, but when the chairman of that committee makes such a huge decision, does he not need to still sit with the president and say, this is what we've come up, this is what we want to do, before going to make such a big decision? Because I think now the worry is you set a precedent almost that other nations can go like, okay, well, I mean, if Morocco were able to appeal and they won the appeal, next time we lose the final, what stops us from appealing and winning that final also 6 months later after the final has passed? That's my concern. Thank you for a great show, Rob. I'll listen on the radio.
Good to hear your voice again, Miguel. Thank you so much indeed. In Centurion, how do you answer that? Because it's a precedent that's been set.
100%. I mean, first of all, Miguel, I can assure you 100% the president of the appeals committee, the chairman, did not speak to President Motsepe about the decision at all, as it is correctly so. Yeah. Because President Motsepe does not interfere with the processes. President Motsepe was physically not in Cairo when during the hearing. He got the verdict as a post factum. And as it should be, Robert. And I think the day the president of CAF gets involved and muddies, or the president of anything muddies in judicial processes, we should be very afraid.
But you know where he can get involved.
Yeah.
And obviously this has forced me again to backtrack.
No, it's fair enough.
So as we were busy with the broadcast of AFCON, as everybody else, including Osasu, you know, you start to think about certain things that were happening, and you say the same referee that does the game in the opening match is the same referee that does the game in the closing game. It's not new to football, right? It's happened before. And then I look back at decisions that were taken. I look back and I say, from a refereeing committee perspective, there was a chairman that was put in charge of the committee exactly 1 month before the tournament started.
2 months, yeah, but I get it.
Yeah, a month before the tournament began. And so the referees from Congo, the chairman's from Congo, the secretary general is from Congo.
Yeah.
The appointment of the referee on the day is from Congo.
Yeah.
And then I question it just purely based on that. From the optics of it all, do you see or not see anything that could be seen as otherwise? Because you were talking about governance and governance levels. And I say, for me, that from a governance perspective doesn't land well with me.
Robert, I mean, I'll tell you what, the president of CAF called an emergency EXCO meeting in Tanzania last month. And for the first time, there was an item debated for 2 hours at EXCO. The chairman of the referees was called in. Every EXCO member had an opportunity to talk to him and question a lot of fundamental things. And I think that is one process that is ongoing, Robert. That EXCO meeting, I mean, I cannot talk about what happens at EXCO, but it was a very vigorous meeting. And the president of CAF was very, very clear that there has to be accountability at all levels about what is happening. And I think in that meeting, there was a lot of strong debate, Robert, and about, I mean, in detail about what has happened. And I think at the right time, there will be an opportunity for people to discuss this, Robert.
But you saying that what I'm saying is just not hot air.
No, but it's a process.
It's
I hear your point.
And a problem.
No, I hear your point, Robert.
Yeah.
But as I said, because of the emergency EXCO that happened, and I know that they have an ad hoc process to deal exactly with the same matter. I don't think it's fair for me. If there was no process like this, I could actually go through detail about this. But let's keep space.
As part of the outcome. Yeah. So I say to myself, okay, if this decision is taken by the appeal, but there's nothing that's mentioned about the referee because the referee is not being sanctioned. It doesn't seem to be heading in that direction, that if he was materially wrong, but he is not highlighted in all of this, then that, again, for me, is problematic. Instead, they look at ball boys and they reduced the fines and so on. And yet those ball boys were materially responsible for the game being played in the spirit and against the spirit of the game.
Let's give space to CAS, the Court of Arbitration in Sport. That matter is going to be ventilated there. Robert, whenever there is a process like this, I know it's frustrating for me to say this, but I truly believe that you must give space to it, not in an artificial way. There must be a true commitment to giving space to judicial processes to take its course.
100%. I think my one that's directed at CAF, not CAS,
Yeah.
is the one that I just articulated right now.
Understood.
Is also the one that says to me, as far as I know, is that there is no head of refereeing currently.
Yeah.
There is no technical director of refereeing.
No, there is now. There is now.
Appointed when?
2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
So which is the same time as when the final would have been held, post the 18th of January.
No, just before the final. Yeah, I get your point. During the AFCON, there was someone appointed, but I get your point.
So
I understand where you're coming from, Robert. And that's why I'm saying this ad hoc structure that is dealing emanating from the meeting of EXCO in Tanzania is dealing exactly with these things, Robert. The president of CAF has said he's extremely worried about what happened in that final. But again, I do know he's disciplining his emotions. He wants, Dr. Motsepe is a process-driven man. And sometimes he frustrates me as well, Robert.
Because he doesn't always have to be diplomatic, so he knows that.
No, but he is such a process person. I'll be like, President, let's get on it. And he'll be like, no, follow the process. And I think, but I've learned that about him, that he is such a process-driven person. He wants things to take its course. Sometimes with the frustration of the people around him. If anyone knows him, that if we're doing one document with him, it takes 3 days. And it's done at 12 midnight or at 1 a.m. sometimes. That's just the kind of person he is, Robert.
I have to release you. I
know.
All right. Osaso Bamuyana is standing by. I know he's been patiently waiting. I'll give him his right of response, and I'm sure he'll respond to a lot of what we've spoken about here. Lux, thank you so much indeed for your time. And hoping to hear, we'll be watching to hear what the next move is, especially with the conversations that have happened between Senegal as well as the president of CAF.
And Ngozga Robert, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, Tata.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW.
947 loves a good food convo. And it doesn't get any yummier than What's the Difference?
It's a vibe.
The brand new Woolworths food podcast, hosted by the incredible Sbongile Mafu.
My name is Sbongile Mafu. I am a lover of food.
And food writer extraordinaire, Steve Steinfeld.
Do anything. He's there. He's a friend of Infantino. They just sold our football to money makers.
All right. Getting the views of South Africans that are coming through. Going to be chatting in just a second with Osaso Obiona, football journalist and broadcaster, coming through live from the United Kingdom. Richard is in Projet Land. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Robert. How are you?
I'm very good, man. Worried, but I'm okay. What about you?
Yeah, I'm also worried, and I've got a stupid question that I want to ask, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's just unfortunately, like says, I've already left the building. I wanted to ask, because I've heard that the Senegalese, they must bring back the trophy and the medals. So now my question is, what's going to happen to the medals? Because the medals are with the players right now. Most of the players, or not, it's not all of them, they are playing overseas. Like, for example, last night I saw Kukulbai and Mendy, they were playing in a game last night in Saudi Arabia. Let's say they've got the medals with them in Saudi Arabia. So does it mean they'll have to fly back to Senegal to take the medals back? What's going to happen in that issue? And if they're going to do that, whose expense is going to pay for the flight to go back to Senegal to take back the medals?
Yeah, I think that's an important question, though. I think if you spoke to anybody from CAF, they'll tell you, let the process come to an end. Let's go to CAS, and once CAS has decided, then a decision has to be made.
Yeah, but we've already forgot about that game. The Thursday, we knew that Senegal are the champions, but now they're taking us back. They should have done it on the very same night. But now, 2 months down the line, this is not fair. This is not good at all for our soccer and our reputation, Robert. unfortunately.
Yeah, no, Richard, I understand, man. Highly frustrated from Proteate Land. So let's find out other thoughts.
Hi, Rob. Greetings to you and everyone listening to the show. This is Joy from Watville in Benoni. I'm listening to the conversation you are having with the gentleman in the studio. But now, what I'm failing to understand is the point where he's saying that even the CAF president, Mr. Motsepe, he heard of the decision that Morocco has been awarded the title as the AFCON as the winners of AFCON. He had it just like the way we had it. Now, how come that the president is being told of the decisions that are being made? What is the board made of? I need to understand it clearly, or maybe it's me who is only mistaken. Thank you. Sharp.
Good evening, Rob. Yeah, this is a very sad in African football. So now I always believe that football should be on in the field of play, not in the boardroom. That is always my belief. So this is tough, I'm telling you. I feel for Lux is trying by all means to explain this thing, but this is laughable. This is laughable, Rob. Thank you so much. My name is Andres.
No, Robert. No. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. How come? How can the president of CAF not know the decision taken? No, it doesn't make sense at all. No, man.
Marawa, umkhumbi kaKhumalo lo. I've
All right, Kumbi, we had taken that particular voice note, and obviously Osasu Obayuwana had him on the UK the other day, and he was holding his own. He's a football journalist, as a broadcaster live from the UK. He joins us here. He's listened carefully to what Lux has said, and I do promise him we will give him the extended time that he deserves. We'll give the conversation the extended time that it does deserve. So we're not going to be losing much in terms of the time. But Osasu, as always, thank you for your time, sir. Good evening. Your initial reaction is: do you want to deal with the right of response, or you want to deal straight with the issue that's pertaining to CAF and what we've seen?
Maybe we should deal with the right of response another day, because you haven't got that much time left now. About 7 minutes left.
No, don't worry about the time. We'll deal with it. We'll adjust a couple of things. We'll make time for you. So 7 minutes on the radio, and we'll take the balance online.
All right, great. Okay, but let's deal with the matters at hand. I think those are more important than my personal issues. Look, you know, when a CAF appeals body cannot apply the law as they are supposed to apply the law, you know, this is a matter of grave concern for me as somebody who is a trained barrister. You know, look, I mean, Law 5.2 of the laws of football are so clear. I mean, what is unclear about the fact that, you know, the decisions of the referee regarding facts connected with play, including whether or not a goal is scored, and the result of the match are final. The decisions of the referee and all other match officials must always be respected. The referee may not change a restart decision on realizing that it is incorrect, or on the advice of another match official if play has restarted, or the referee has signaled the end of the first or second half, or left the field of play, or abandoned the match. So what is unclear about this to anybody who understands English and knows what this rule means? I don't understand it.
You heard what Lux said to say. He's saying that the president of CAF had no knowledge. The email came through at the same time as the entire world.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying he's responsible for the decision.
Yes.
I didn't say he is. I mean, fair enough. The appeals panel is independent, but the executive of CAF are responsible for presenting the people whom the Congress approve to be the members of these independent bodies. And so my question is, what due diligence was done by CAF to ensure that the best of jurists were appointed to these independent bodies? You didn't, well, I don't want to even ask Lux these questions because, to be honest, this is above his pay grade and it's not fair for me to put questions to him that are not within his remit to answer. But for those like the chairman of the legal committee, these are questions that he should answer. And it is ironic that he now finds judicial bodies of CAF to be unjust towards his country. And he's the chairman of the legal committee. Some irony that is, don't you think?
100%. What do you make of the panel, the appeals board? What do you make of the individuals that sat there? How could they miss the most obvious?
I'm sorry, there are no two ways about it. The decision was a travesty, it's a disgrace, and all those who are responsible for this odious decision should resign, in my opinion. Because as a lawyer, for any high court justice to have come to the conclusion they came along with the members of that appeals board, it's a disgrace, and it has brought African football into tremendous global disrepute. I am very annoyed, Robert.
How do we rescue this? Because your annoyance, Osasu, is my annoyance. It's everybody's. You've heard the voice notes, the phone calls. You've read on social media. You've been invited to your Talk Sports on the UK and various other platforms. And you've articulated exactly how a lot of Africans especially feel, because we fought so hard to get the image of African football back to where it belongs. And Cote d'Ivoire was a step in the right direction. What we saw in Morocco, outside of the many other issues, again, cemented a very good Africa Cup of Nations. There were little potholes here and there that we can talk about. But in the main, it was watched across the globe. For the first time, the eyeballs were there. But we got it wrong where it mattered most. You cannot take a trophy back. You cannot dethrone champions in the manner that it's happened now.
No, you can't. And CAF will be humiliated at the Court of Arbitration for Sport again. When CAF got into this kind of mess in 2019 over the Champions League final in Tunis between Espérance Sportive and Wydad Casablanca, CAF ignored their own rules and regulations. And the EXCO sat in Paris and decided that there was to be a replay. And when this matter was taken to CAS rebuked CAF for its lack of respect for its own judicial processes and instructed them to follow the rule of law. And Espérance won that case at every given turn. In this matter, how the appeals board came to this decision just leaves me, I don't even have words for it. And it also then tells me that due diligence was not carried out to ensure that jurists of high quality and people that understand football are in charge of judicial bodies of the Confederation of African Football. As far as I'm concerned, the entire appeals board must go.
Okay, on that note, let's hold it there, Osasu, but please don't go away. I'm just going to redirect all the hashtag MSW shareholders onto the YouTube channel, our conversation, and you can see him in the flesh, Osasu. He is there visually and from an audio perspective. So continue with the conversation. As I said, I would give him the due time that he does deserve, and we will thrash out this issue with him up until maybe around about 20 past the hour. But right now, though, we'll catch you again for the Friday edition of hashtag MSW Marawa Sports Worldwide, probably brought to you by Hollywood Bets.
Let's go! The moments you remember. The games you can't forget. Marawa Sports Worldwide on 947, Vuma FM and Rise FM. Powered by Hollywood Bets. Hashtag MSW. Live now on 947, Vuma FM, Rise FM and Soweto Live. At the same time. Hashtag MSW. Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Senegal score their first ever goal in an Africa Cup of Nations final.
I don't know if you know what to say to Nuhu Adams right now, because he joins me. He's somebody who's been following this. He's an African football correspondent.
The embarrassment has been created already.
African football's image has been dented. I believe Senegal has a strong case going to cast how Morocco were disappointed. At some point, they are threatening CAF with certain decisions, not hosting the Women's AFCON and all that. Information I've gathered, it is a decision that was planned somewhere along the line.
Hashtag MSW. Hashtag MSW. For our sports worldwide, we ask the questions they are scared to answer.
It was a mutual conversation. It was a mutual termination.
Hashtag MSW.
Right, to head into extra time, something that world football is so well aware of when you head into extra time. Osaso Bayuana is my guest, football journalist and broadcaster, coming through live from the UK. We are live on the YouTube channel. Also be taking some of your questions, whether on social media, on X or Twitter as it is, or on the YouTube channel. So Osaso, as you know, very, very vocal. He's been our guest on several occasions, and we called upon his wisdom again today to step forward as the entire world gets talking about this, and I'm saying that I've been also just watching and monitoring the comments as well, where he's been doing a great job, actually, where he's been punching holes into some of the arguments where, people in the UK still perceive Africa in a certain way. And I've got to applaud him for doing such a stellar job. Maybe while I talk about that, Osaso, I mean, just the impressions that have come through from a global perspective have been almost that of Jamie Carragher to say, yeah, typical Africans.
Pay no mind to him. I have no time for the nonsense he says. We have more important issues to discuss. Yes, there is no doubt that this nonsensical decision of the appeals board does not do the image of African football any good. But as I have explained to people in this part of the world, the spectacle that is African football is good. It is of high quality. Yeah, everybody saw the quality of football at the last AFCON. It is comparable to any tournament in the world. So this is not the issue. What we have our issues with is governance. And as you know, I have talked about the problems of governance in African football for more than 2 decades, way more than 2 decades. And the sad part of it is that it is getting worse. And now it has brought us to this Waterloo that everyone in the world is seeing, which should never have happened.
We would have expected it to get better. I go back to just the last issue that I was tackling with Lux. Obviously, due to there being no time, we had to leave it at that. But he was not against what I was saying. And I'm saying that a month before the tournament, you make such big decisions. 1 month before the tournament comes, you remove a gentleman from Benin, and then you bring in the chairman from Congo, the secretary general's from Congo, the referee in the opening and the closing game is from Congo, and all of these things then happen, and you still don't have a head of refereeing. A technical director, like he says, came on right towards the end of the tournament. For me, that is not good enough.
Let me even tell you something interesting. You know that Victor Gomez is the deputy of that committee. Do you know that just days into his being in Morocco, he left?
He left? Why?
The excuse he gave. Well, maybe you should ask him.
I'm asking you.
Get him on the show. Get him on the show and ask him, because he was in Morocco, but he left some few days later. I think I was made to understand he said he had some urgent issues back home in South Africa to attend to. But, do some digging and you'll find out that may not exactly be the real story.
Well, you are teasing around the story. Victor Gomes is not with us on the line. You obviously know the backstory of why he left.
You know him. And you have his phone number. Call him. Let you. No, I'm not going to do your work for you, Mr.
No,
Morales.
it's not my work. It's the work for the public. It's the people that consume the product that we produce. So me calling him is not doing my work. It's doing the work that we feed through to the public. The football lovers are the people that win. So your knowledge and your information is everybody's information.
Well, I've told you what I know.
What do you know?
I've told you what I just told you, that he left. He was deputy chairman of the referees commission and he didn't stay for the AFCON, even though he did go to Morocco. So why did he?
But you
listen, you were making reference to the recurring decimal of DR Congo in refereeing appointments and the chairman of the committee. Look, I'm not going to make any bones about it. The General Secretary of CAF, Veron Mosengo Omba, has done terrible damage to the image of CAF, of African football, with so many things he has done, which I cannot even begin to mention here. But the most important of them is that he is illegally in office and has been illegally in office since the 15th of October last year when he was to leave. And what African football needs to ask is, why does CAF have a general secretary that is illegal in office?
Illegal in what way?
I will explain to you. Since you don't know, I will explain.
Of course I know. I'm asking you. You're the guest. Don't posture. Osasu, you must relax. You must relax. Handle the interview, not the individual. No. You've raised it, so go ahead.
Okay, so no, you know. So look, this man was 61 in March of 21 when he was appointed General Secretary. By October of 2022, he was 63. 63 is the retirement age according to regulations in the CAF Employment Handbook. Okay? In that handbook, the General Secretary or the President of CAF have the power to extend the employment of somebody who is 63 for a single term of 3 years. That single term of 3 years ended on the 15th of October 2025. There is no option for renewal or anything of such. So why is he still in office? The president is a lawyer. He was a partner at Bowman and Gilfillan in Johannesburg. So he is not exactly ignorant of the law and due process. I don't understand why he has allowed this. And this is causing serious commotion within the Confederation because EXCO members are not happy with it and they are fed up of it. But he's still there. How can you promote good governance if you cannot even ensure that a general secretary leaves when he's supposed to leave and then appoint a new person to take over when such a person should take over?
Have they responded to you when you've asked that question?
Well, to Mosepe would not answer me. You all saw what happened in Rabat, so I'm not bothering myself with that. Veron Mosengo would rather cut his throat than respond to that, so I'm not going to bother myself asking him. But Samir Soba, the CAF EXCO member, did respond to that, and if you had read my report in The Guardian a couple of weeks ago, you would know his position on this matter. So it is all in the public domain.
As we kind of crisscross between all of these issues, I want to slightly lean back to that response because we all waited for the response from the president of CAF, and it happened last night, and it wasn't a written response. It was a video. So a video where he then explains in many words. What is your take on what you heard? And does that give you any sense that was a leader taking responsibility, or was that a leader who was saying, hey, I'm just as surprised as everybody?
I don't know what to say without being really harsh, but what he delivered was a word salad, and it wasn't a very palatable word salad in any way, shape, or form. I don't know who advised him to put out that video, but he didn't sound like he could deliver what he wanted to say off the cuff in a way that was presidential. He could have written the script. He could have practiced. He's a billionaire. He can even have a teleprompter for things like that. He can afford those things. They're nothing to him. The way in which it came out, it didn't make him look good at all. And I can tell you from the responses I have had from around Africa on my Twitter handle, people are not pleased with what he said. And I think they have a point.
What did he get wrong?
What he looked uncertain, he looked unsure. I don't know what the purpose, okay, let me ask you, because this is a conversation. What do you think the purpose of the conversation was? Because I don't know what it was. What do you think it was, Robert, from your point of view?
All right. I'm glad it's a conversation because you can get to ask me questions, which is wonderful. The purpose
well,
of
we're journalists, you know how it is.
The purpose of the conversation from my perspective is I anticipated something really groundbreaking where he would have taken us into his confidence and said, okay, I won't take the diplomatic route. I will take a route that says something about the appeal board and that they have looked and the fact that they have gotten it wrong. But that wasn't going to come because we're all going to be given the same line of, Kaz is still the possibility there. So I was disappointed in the lot of what was said, but which did not say much. Because I don't really
That's
see
why I
it.
said it was a word salad.
Yeah, because I don't really see any, clip, as you know, that when we're looking for sound bites and there's that one sound bite that says, okay, 100%, there will be no new trophy given to. We will not scratch off where the trophy has been engraved. We're not going to be taking back, the medals, etc., etc. We got something completely different. So here I am today. I still don't know what the essence of that statement was.
That is exactly the point. If you've given a statement and people are none the wiser after hearing it, it tells you that that statement was of no consequence. It would have even been better if he hadn't said anything at all.
So where then? I mean, we've heard about respect of independent bodies. We've heard that there is no interference from the highest seat within the CAF structures is what we were told, and still we were told today by Lux. Do you believe, though, that CAF have considered what we call reputational damage to both Morocco and Senegal? Because not only is African football going to be in a mess, the Senegalese players, they did what they did best. They said, hey, we're going to post everything.
It's in a mess already. It's in a mess already. When the chairman of the legal committee of CAF is firing salvos at the appeals committee, that is an utter disaster governance-wise. He's basically saying that he has no confidence in CAF when he is an EXCO member and a chairman of the legal committee. That on its own is a disaster. And as I've said, this, for me, I've told many people that I'm actually happy that this crisis has come because I think now people realize that those of us who have been pointing out these governance problems, malfeasance in governance, we were not crying wolf. We were not just moaners who didn't know what we were talking about. It has now come to a crescendo where everybody can see that there is something deeply wrong. There is something seriously dysfunctional in the Confederation of African Football. And so the time has come for a cleaning of the Augean stables. But will they do it?
Tell me what that cleaning process. Tell me what the cleaning process looks like, because we can say let's clean things up. Where do we begin? Because the cleaning process, you're either starting off in the dining room, and the kitchen, or the bedroom. Where does your cleaning up begin?
Well, I didn't know that this is a literal house cleaning exercise, Robert. But the problem we have in African football is from the root, from the grassroots, the federations, our FAs. Look at what is going on in SAFA, Robert. SAFA is an utter and complete mess right now. And they are not the only FA in Africa facing these type of things. And then when you have leaders emerging through flawed processes, through so many football associations in Africa, what do we expect the Confederation of African Football to be? The Confederation will only be a reflection of the 54 members who make it up. And if we don't improve the quality of governance at national level, it will be extremely difficult to change things in CAF. That said, there are some basic things that must exist. Those who are in charge of risk and compliance should be allowed to do their jobs without fear or favor. They shouldn't be scared that if they call their bosses to order, they will be fired. We need to have checks and balances within the system. Those are the things that bring about governance control and the ability to self-correct when things are going wrong. At the moment, these things don't exist in CAF. They don't exist.
So you've done a brilliant job, right, of the word salad. You've given me lots of words, but you haven't answered my question about where do you begin the cleanup. So if a cleanup is to happen,
I told you. I just told you.
But be more specific.
You can't clean up. You can't clean up the confederation without cleaning up the national federations first. But that said, we can start in CAF by the rule of law being respected. Let statutes be respected. Let rules be respected. At least, if the statutes of CAF are respected, things will run far better than they are now. At the moment, the statutes of CAF are observed in breach rather than compliance, and that's not a word salad. That's an indisputable fact.
A fact that we heard on the show yesterday was a response by the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, and he was saying that Patrice Motsepe must resist the temptation of being bullied or held hostage by Morocco. Do you believe that Morocco are playing a massive part here in trying to give certain outcomes and then saying, oh, we're not going to be hosting WAFCON, but now, okay, we're going to be hosting WAFCON now that we've got an outcome. What's the role of Morocco here?
I am not going to go into blaming any country. You know why? Because the referees, the umpires have a responsibility to be firm, to act with integrity, and to act according to the rule of law. It is natural that in a confederation of 54 countries, nations of all sorts will try to jostle for supremacy or for an advantage in one area or the other. But it is the duty of the umpire to act with integrity, to be a stickler for rules and regulations and the statutes. If they do this, there's so many problems. In fact, all the problems that came out of this final would not have happened. That is why I keep on saying the president, the general secretary, the exco, they must face their responsibility to this continent and stop running away from these responsibilities. Robert, the president of CAF has been in office for 5 years. And I can tell you that in those 5 years, he has not even spent 1 week at a stretch in Cairo, the headquarters. How can this be acceptable?
So you're saying
People
he doesn't
say,
spend time in within the offices of CAF?
Yeah, he does not. And I know this because I talk to the staff. And he's seen as an absentee president.
But an absentee president who can then say, I boast an increase in money for all of these competitions. I boast advertising spend. I boast the commercial aspect of this particular CAF. Whether he's seated behind a desk or not, that is what he can present to you. So how do you respond to that?
Mr. Marawa, we seem to know these days the price of everything and the value of nothing. This really bothers me. I'm not saying, of course, money for African football is of supreme importance, but there will be no long-term stability for our game or sustained development if we do not address the dysfunctional governance that we are having now. If you don't address the dysfunctional governance, increase in money will only be temporary, because eventually the partners will know, they will see that there is dysfunction, and they would want to disassociate themselves from that. CAF is not Mosepe. Mosepe is going to go one day. What is he building that his successor will be able to take over, maintain, and grow? These are the questions that all of us in African football need to ask. And we need to be holding our leaders to account. They are not lords of the manor. They don't live on Mount Olympus. They are people who are responsible to the people of this continent, and we have a right to hold them to account. I know they don't like pesky, nosy, inquisitive journalists like me, but that's just too bad, because we're here and we're going to be here for a long time, as long as the man upstairs is okay with that.
All right. I know that we got a couple of minutes left, Osasu, but, you and I know the perception around Morocco, and I want your take around Morocco. Why is Morocco being seen as an almost bully to CAF right now? Do they have ambitions to take over CAF and be the new leaders of CAF?
Well, maybe you need to get Mr. Fauzi Lecture to answer that question. He's the best person to answer it. But I will say this. Morocco are not a perfect country, but they've done a lot for African football as well. Imagine a country that was staging the matches of African nations in double digits because they couldn't stage their own games at home. That then makes you ask the question, why are those countries not able to have even one stadium at home they can use? For Morocco, I speak to them. I even spoke to a high-level person within the system this morning, but that's under Chatham House rules, so I'm not going to tell you who it was and what we discussed. But I would say this, that I told them that it is in Morocco's interest to let this matter go. They played a final. It didn't go their way. Pushing this the way it is pushing it is bringing a lot of disharmony and disunity within the African football family. And I use that word family loosely. Were they done an injustice by the referee during the final? Absolutely. He should have ended the game when Senegal walked out. But since the referee decided to resume the game, then the result has to stand and Senegal has to keep the trophy. What should be dealt with, in my opinion, right now is the referee, the chairman of the referees committee, and those who are responsible for this mess in which we are now. Because if this matter drags on for 6 months, as Raymond was warning you, you can imagine the reputational damage this is going to continue doing to CAF for the next half a year.
I've got 40 seconds. I've got 40 seconds, Osasu. Otherwise, this is going to time out. What is the Osasu solution to all of this?
Follow the rule of law.
The referee's decision is final.
Follow the rule of law.
Referee's decision is final.
Absolutely. Rule 5.2 of the laws of the game. That's it.
So Senegal should continue with their celebrations.
Yes, they should.
It's always a pleasure, my good sir. Thank you very much. Keep rattling the cages. And
take care, Mr. Marawa. And be a friend. Be around. Not only when we talk on air. You should see more often.
Thank you so much. Buy me more airtime, boss. So please follow him on social media. He's a voice. He's a man who follows everything that happens within the African continent, but he's a global figure as well. So not just restricted to the African continent. And I do thank him very much indeed. Thank the team for going into extra time with all of us. It was an important way that we conclude the conversation with Osasu. We'll catch you again pretty soon.